Yeah, and so Eva definitely has a Bloodhound question where she wants to create a filter, a signal filter, so that signals only occur when price, a bar, comes within 10 ticks either above or 10 ticks below the VWAP. All right, so this is going to be NinjaTrader's order flow VWAP indicator here. So the order flow VWAP. So we'll throw that on the chart. And let's see, this question is about the VWAP line itself. Yeah, so let me turn off all the bands. Yeah, that way we can just focus on the VWAP itself. And let's make that a little thicker. Okay, so there's our VWAP indicator, just the center line, right? Just the VWAP center line. No deviation lines there. So we want to identify, when price kind of gets within 10 ticks. So we can see, that happens a lot. So, right, all over the place. So, and of course, over here, so I'm not going to mark them all up. All right, so let's get BloodHound open. All right, so let's actually name this logic template here. So you can right-click on the logic template. And you can see there's a rename there. We can rename it that way. That's definitely the easier way to do that. Or, you can always make sure that you click on the tab, just to make sure that it is the one that's selected. And then also up here in the upper left, you can see there's a rename button there too. So we could rename it there as well. So there's two spots that we can rename our logic templates. So I like, as I said earlier, I like right-clicking here. So, all right. So we're looking for a price within 10 ticks of the VWAP. All right. So that's a job for the comparison solver, right? So we want to compare all of these bar prices. Let's kind of zoom out here. So we want to compare, all the different bar prices, to see, so, right, the bars have, four prices, open, high, low, and close. So we need to check all of those prices to see if the VWAP, or if price is within 10 ticks of that. Actually, there's actually, two conditions that we need to check for. Kind of break this down into what needs to be looked at. Right? So here, this bar here, it's not touching the VWAP, but the low looks like it's, let's see, this is a 10 tick range. Yeah, so the low is definitely within a tick or two of the VWAP line, but it's not touching it, right? And same thing down here, right? The high of the bar is definitely within 10 ticks of the VWAP, but it's not touching it. But right here, right, the bar is straddling the VWAP line. Now, what happens if this was a 50 range chart, right? A 50 range chart, right? The high of the bar could be way up here, right? The high of the bar could be way up here, and the low of the bar could be way down there. Let's make this more like 50 ticks. There we go, right? And so therefore the high of the bar would not be within 10 ticks, and neither would the low of the bar. It wouldn't be within 10 ticks. But obviously the bar is straddling the VWAP, right? So there's lots of, prices that you would have to analyze to check that. But we can actually, instead of having to check every single price point, we can just check a couple of things. We'll start by just checking, is the low of the bar within 10 ticks, or is the high of the bar within 10 ticks? And then we'll do a different check with a different solver to see, is the bar maybe straddling the VWAP, but the high is too far away, or the low might be too far away. Obviously, it depends on your time period here. I mean, you might have the same problem if you're trading 15-minute bars, as well, where that bar might be so long that the high is too far away and the low is too far away. So, all right. So this is going to require 2 comparison solvers to do this. And I'm going to work with the solvers tab closed. So I like to maximize my work area. And it's not actually closed. I just unpinned it. So that way it auto hides itself. So you can still go back to the snippets panel or the solvers panel whenever you need. All right, so let's add a comparison solver to the board. Pull this down. All right, we'll give the solver a name here. I haven't decided if I'm still going to keep my little abbreviation name, because it's pretty obvious what the solvers are doing, so maybe not. So, now we got these nice big icons so you can see exactly which solver it is, and so, yeah, I probably don't need to keep the solver's name in the name anymore. All right, so there we go. So we're looking to see if the high or the low of the bar is, within 10 ticks of the VWAP there. All right, so input A, we're going to switch that over to price. All right, so there you go. So type switched over to price. And let's see. So if the high, we'll use the high price to generate a long output and the short price to generate, the low price to generate a short output. There we go. So for long, I selected high price. For short, I selected low price. Input B, that's going to be our VWAP indicator. So let's open up our indicators and let's do a little search for VWAP. There's the VWAP right there. So remember, on the chart, I set the standard bands to none. So I'll set that to none. And we're comparing, the high and low prices to the VWAP line itself, and that is already selected for us. So, all right, so we're good to go there. So now we need to go into the comparison settings here, which is the rules window. So let's open that up. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, so we're not going to use a fixed rule here. So I deleted the fixed rule, and I'm going to add a ranged rule, right? And so if the high is, between -10 and 10, in this case ticks from the order flow VWAP indicator. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to put that in twice, -10 to 10, and then remember to turn the output on. So set the output, and let's hit apply. Right, so when you hit apply, you can see, whatever adjustments you made, right there. And there we go. So we can see we're at least getting some kind of output here, right? Whenever either the high or the low is within 10 ticks. Let's see, that's 32 even. and the low is 34.75. Let's see, 32. Yeah, that's 11 ticks away. All right, so the low of this bar where my cursor's at, yep, is 11 ticks away from the VWAP. So there we go. All right. So again, let's kind of go through this here. So we're looking to see, is the high of the bar, somewhere. One more thing to do. So we want to check the options. So we want to know if the high price is inside of this negative 10 ticks to 10 ticks, right? And also we want to include the 10 ticks. So that's kind of like saying equals, right? So if the high, equals negative 10 ticks away, or if the high equals exactly 10 ticks away, we want to include exactly 10 ticks, right? If we excluded it, then basically the high would have to be like 9.99999 ticks, from the VWAP. So it wouldn't include the actual 10 tick difference there. So, all right, so yeah, the default settings, is exactly what we want. So we're looking for the high price to be inside this negative 10 tick to 10 tick range. Same with the low price to be within, right, inside that negative 10 to 10 tick inside there. All right. And you can reverse these as well. There's really, so like, the old BloodHound, the threshold solver had to be in a correct order. But the new, right, this new interface is designed to be a little more universal. Right, so if I reverse the negative and positive values there, right, we end up with the exact same result there. So you don't have to worry about, do I put the negative in first or the positive in first or whatnot. So, all right. So there's one comparison solver. And the next, let's see, actually, let's actually make a realistic example here. Yeah, let's see if a 30 range chart will do it for us. Ah, perfect. All right, look at that. We have a bar straddling the VWAP, but there's no output because the high of the bar is more than 10 ticks away and the low of the bar is more than 10 ticks away, right? So there we go. So we got this problem to solve now. Oh yeah, and it looks like we actually have a couple more here. There we go. So we got two bars that are straddling, but right, there's no output. So, and if you're wondering about, the long only and the short only, we're going to get to that here in just a moment. So, all right, so let's fix, or let's not fix, but let's create another solver that works for the bars that are straddling. All right. So let's see here. So I'm going to make a copy of this solver because it already has the VWAP set up for me. So it'll save me a couple of seconds here. So let's just hit copy and then I'll paste it there. There we go. All right. And if you notice, right, when you make a copy, it is literally making a duplicate, and it just adds a number 1 to the name here, right? So, right, if you want to use the same solver over again, but not make a duplicate, right, not make a copy of it, then that's what the solvers panel is for. So you want to take that solver and drag it on there, right? So now I have, right, two solvers that are the same instance of each other, right? Because you'll notice there's still only 2 solvers in the panel here, right? And if I can take this other one, drag it down here, right? So I have 4 comparison solvers, but only two instances of a comparison solver, right? So these 2 solvers here, they're, the terminologies can be really confusing, right? Because yes, they're copies of each other, but they're the same instance, right? So these 2 solvers are the same instance of the first comparison solver I made, right? And the second comparison solver, well, these 2 down here, they are the same instance of the second one. So, all right. So yeah, so if you don't want to keep creating solvers over and over and over again, because if you already built a solver to do a task, you shouldn't be making copies of it, right? Because that is just wasting CPU processing time, right? You should create instances of it, right? So you just take it, and if you need to use it somewhere else in one of your logic templates, right? If you need to use it somewhere else on the board, just drag it on there, so that way you're not creating multiple copies, and that will reduce the workload of your processor, right? So, but of course, keep in mind, these are the same instance of each other. So if I change one, it's going to change all of them. So for example, on this one, if I go just put a bunch of X's on the name there, right? I changed this one as well, right? Both of these changed, right? So you got to be aware of that. That when you're using instances of the same solver, that if you change one, it changes all the instances of it, right? So if you need to make a change to one, but you do not want to change the others, that is when you make a copy, right? And let me hit the undo button here. Yeah, let me undo that name change. Actually, I'm going to undo all of this here. There we go. Okay, so I'm back to where I was when I made the copy, right? I made the copy because I'm going to change the settings. That's why I made a copy, because this solver and this solver are going to be different. So, all right, so the bar straddles the VWAP there. And so let's see, this time, so I'm actually going to keep the high and low prices, but this time I want to identify when the high is above and the low is below at the same time. So that means I need to go into the settings here and adjust the settings. All right. So this time I don't want a ranged rule, so I'm going to delete that. And this time I'm going to use the fixed rule. And I want to know, is the high, it can be above or equal, right? The high can be greater or equal than the VWAP. And I want the low to be less than or equal to the VWAP line. And again, don't forget to turn the outputs on. And oh, I forgot to connect this up. There we go. Let's connect that up. There. And so what we're interested in is, right, you see the bars that I marked here, the bars that are straddling, right? They have a long and a short output together, right? A long and a short output together right here. So yeah, this bar, basically the high is touching. It's at least touching. It might be a fraction higher. Let's see. The high is 25. Yeah, so the high of this bar is 0.06 points higher. Yeah, so this bar is straddling the VWAP. And there's a couple of other bars here straddling, and you'll notice there's a long and a short output together. So that's what I want to identify from this, is I need to know when there's a long and short output together. And I want to get rid of the short only, and I want to get rid of the long only, right? Because when there's a short only, you can see the bar is completely below the VWAP. Or if the bar is completely above the VWAP, I get a long only output. So I want to get rid of the short only and the long only. And to do that, I can go to my function nodes here, and I want the long short modifier. And with the long short modifier, the mode is going to be product or multiplication. Right? And so now all I'm left is the bars that have long and short together, right? And those are the bars that are actually touching the VWAP. There. All right, and let's give this a name here. There. All right, so there is our two comparison solvers that can identify when price is within that 10 tick range or touching. So now I need to combine both of those together. Let me hold on. Let's hide that. So there. So now that I want to combine both of those together using a OR node right there, an OR node. Connect that and connect that, and there we have it. Oh, so hold on. Sorry guys, I kind of skipped past a part here. So remember the first comparison solver that we built, right? It has, right? It only generates a short only or a long only, and because knowing when price is within a certain proximity of a moving average, right? That's a non-directional. If you say, well, I want the bar above the VWAP, then that's probably a long trade direction. Or if you want to find when the bar, like these two bars, are below the VWAP, then that's probably a short output direction. But the way this question was asked is, we just want to identify when the bars are within 10 ticks of the VWAP line. And so that's a non-directional condition. Right? So I need another function node here, and I need another long short modifier. There. Let's connect that in. And with this long short modifier, I'm going to set the mode to addition. There. So we can see on addition, now we get a long and a short together, right? So all right, there we have it. All right, well, I don't see any follow-up questions, and it looks like Eva got what she wanted, so great. All right, thanks for the question there, Eva.